So I love to ask alumni, parents, kids, what their path to Gow was, because you hear so many incredible stories of how families discovered Gow and the difference that Gow made in the lives of their children and ultimately their families. My path to Gow started, probably in the early 2000s when I was working at an independent school in Buffalo, and I was introduced to Bill Patterson, the then head of school at the Gow School, and he invited me to join a committee to learn a little bit more about the school and perhaps help the school launch a day school in the city of Buffalo. And my first opportunity to visit the campus, to get a tour of the campus from Bill. Though I knew about the work they did with dyslexic thinkers, I got to see it for the first time, and that stuck with me, it resonated with me. And then 15 years later, maybe a little more, I received a call from the Gow School and a firm they were working with about potentially being considered for the head of school position. So I was very excited that they reached out to me, and was nervous because I didn't have a lot of boarding school experience. I did not have a lot of experience in schools that specialized in working with students with learning differences. But I was clearly drawn to that mission. And really, when asked, why did you go to Gow? Why did you accept the position at Gow? It really is based on the work that happens there, and really the meaningful difference that the Gow faculty and staff had in changing the trajectory of a student's life. And nothing against those traditional other independent schools, but many of those schools don't have the number of underdogs that are at the Gow School. Gow students come to Gow essentially broken. They've been knocked down to the mat many times, been in the wrong schools that claim they can serve their needs, but ultimately can't. So to come to Gow, to experience it over the last year, my first year at Gow, and to really see the growth of children from September to late May is remarkable, and it inspires me, it motivates me, and I can't wait for year two. So I've never worked at a boarding school before, and so that's been a bit of a learning curve for me in my transition to Gow, but I do have a lot of boarding school experience personally and with my family. I was fortunate to attend a boarding school, an all-boys boarding school for grades 10, 11, and 12. My wife attended an all-girls boarding school for her junior and senior year, and two of my three daughters had very transformative experiences at the boarding schools they have attended. So I've seen boarding schools through the lens of a student and a parent, and now I'm living it as an administrator. And my first few months at Gow, I got to kind of relive and experience what I did 40 years ago. I just celebrated my 40th reunion at my boarding school. But I think what really is the special sauce at Gow, and perhaps at other boarding schools, is just the relational connections and the touch points that our faculty and staff have with our students. To be a student at a boarding school like Gow and to have breakfast with your math teacher, have lunch with your Spanish teacher, to have a dorm parent that might also coach your soccer team, it just builds the connection. And I think in turn, students, and I think I felt this way, the engagement athletically, academically, in the dorm life really translates into success in the classroom and on character metrics. So having the 24/7 residential experience of a boarding school, I think, is really powerful for not just the students, but it really motivates and drives the faculty as well. Why is Buffalo special? So I had the good fortune of moving to Buffalo with my wife, Beth, my oldest daughter, Grace, who is 5 years old at the time. Middle daughter, Izzy, was 3 years old. And we settled into Buffalo. We immediately fell in love with Buffalo. My third daughter, youngest daughter, was born at the Children's Hospital in Buffalo. And we collectively as a family threw out the anchor in 1997 and said we're not going anywhere. So for 13 years, my wife and I raised our daughters in Buffalo. They are proud Western New Yorkers. They're proud Buffalonians, as are we. Even though I was born and raised in Connecticut, Buffalo possesses a certain fabric, a grit, which is really appealing to me. Folks are very proud of Buffalo. It also, frankly, is a representative slice of Americana. I'm really pleased that my daughters were educated and raised in Buffalo, perhaps versus other parts of the country that might have a much narrower range of individuals. So it was a driving force in my decision to come to Gow and come back to Buffalo and reunite with the families that my wife and I raised our kids with, take advantage of this beautiful part of the country along two Great Lakes, the Niagara Falls, etc. But maybe most importantly, to be back with the people of Buffalo, the real people. So Go Bills.